Happy Godzilla Day, everybody. It's your boy, Matt. I wanted to do a quick video that was originally intended to be submitted for the What Does Godzilla Mean to You sort of video compilation that Toho was putting together. And then I didn't do it in time. But, you know, it happens, and that's part of being an illustrator, being a freelancer, is that you're constantly having to shift your schedule around, and, you know, I thought it would be fine just posting something to my personal YouTube channel. It is November 3rd, 2024. It is the 70th anniversary of the Godzilla franchise. And there is something to be said for what does Godzilla mean to me. And in this video, you know, I'll be taking some, you know, some stuff from my collection and showing you guys while discussing what the franchise means to me, because it's... I've got Godzilla movies running in the background. It's such a difficult question to answer because a lot of people like Godzilla, you know, and they like Godzilla for the reasons they like it, you know. People say, well, why Godzilla? Why do you like Godzilla so much? And it's a lot of the same reasons that I would say, you grow up watching something like Star Wars, or you grow up with Star Trek, or Marvel, or DC, or whatever, you know, whatever your fandom is. And I think when we're younger, we kind of lock in on things, and those things inform us as adults, you know, the combined goulash of our lives. And for some reason, Godzilla became my thing. And whether that's because of my neurodivergence, because of my neurospiciness, you know, my ADHD, my whatever level of autism I happen to have, those are a lot of the reasons why I'm sure that I became hyperfixated. But there's always something more to it than that. There's always something under the surface for that. And I could cite chapter and verse about what Godzilla means culturally. You know, this character that's been around for 70 years and is a pop culture institution at this point. He has so many movies and this giant roster of characters, this roster of monsters, and they're all cool and fun. And, you know, the movies are a consistent mirror of the socio-economic and political landscape of specifically Japan, but by extension the rest of the world, especially when you get into the internationally made Godzilla movies like the Monsterverse and whatnot, all the way up to -1 and its eventual sequel or follow-up or next film, you know, that Yamazaki-san is creating along with his team. Whether or not it's a sequel remains to be seen, but answering the question of what Godzilla means to me is a little more difficult and a little more nuanced because it makes up such a gigantic part of my life. There is so much in my life that I really kind of owe to Godzilla, because I was able to take this thing that I was hyperfixated on as a kid and brute force it into a career. I want to draw Godzilla. I want to get paid to draw Godzilla. Although, honestly, that wasn't even really a factor to me growing up. Like, the idea of getting paid to draw Godzilla was not something I ever really considered. I, believe it or not, tried to be a little more practical about stuff. You know, I really wanted to be a paleontologist when I was a kid. And then, you know, as I got older, the appeal of being creative kind of overtook that. The appeal of being an artist and especially telling stories became extremely appealing to me. And I remember in high school when I really became enamored with comic books and manga, and the idea of an artistic person being the one to tell a complete story in a, you know, in this condensed format where they kind of called the shots, so to speak, you know, and comics are very rarely you know, it's rarely the efforts of just one person. Like, there are comics out there that have been made entirely by one person, but usually there's a letterer or a graphic designer to put the book together, or an editor who's helping to kind of oversee things. But something about that world, something about being a major creative force and telling a story the way you want to tell it was super appealing to me. And I am just so fortunate that Godzilla wound up it being the form that that eventually took. Now, obviously, I've worked on other stuff and other franchises that I'm extremely thrilled to have been a part of, but, you know, a lot of it comes back to Godzilla. Godzilla has also affected my life in a lot of personal ways because, you know, being a Godzilla artist and having some degree of notoriety in the community and in the franchise itself meant that I've been able to meet people that I would consider to be heroes of mine. You know, other artists like Shinji Nishikawa and Bob Eggleton and Art Adams, who were huge inspirations for me. And, you know, I've got right here a piece of Godzilla skin, and I think I've shown this off before, but it's a chunk of Godzilla skin created by Keizo Murase, who I was introduced to through several other mutual friends in Japan, and I am now friends with Daisuke Sato, who is his one of his proteges, and Murase-san sadly passed away very recently, just in the last few months, and this is one of my favorite keepsakes from him, this Godzilla skin that he made in 2011, and I believe it was for a class for you know, teaching a newer generation, a younger generation, about how to make Godzilla suits, how to make practical Godzilla effects, the effects that the Godzilla franchise are really based on, are really really founded on. And Murase-san, you know, was so kind to send this to me for my birthday one year when I was in Japan, with Sato-san delivering it to me. And it means a lot, and I'm, you know, I'm sad that I won't get to see him when I go back to Japan in November, but he definitely lived a long and fulfilled, you know, artistic life being a practical effects artist. And I think I had once kind of asked him, like, why do you care about me? Basically, like, why, you know, he was so generous, you know, with his time and attention. And I was asking, you know, why? Whoops, don't drop it, Matt. I mean, it's not that fragile. It's honestly, it's made to take punishment. It's Godzilla skin. And he told me, well, because you're a part of the younger generation, and it's important to cultivate that. And as I've been getting older, you know, I'm gonna be turning 40 pretty soon. You know, in about a month I'm gonna turn 39, and then next year I'll be 40. And I've gotten to the point where I've started trying to mentor other artists, especially younger artists, whom I either try to mentor or I try to give them opportunities to work with me. And I've just been very happy to have those relationships now. You know, I don't have kids, so, you know, Godzilla also kind of represents this continuation, this point of continuity for our collective cultural memory. And the fact that I get to be a part of that is also means a lot, because again, it was not something that I had the intention of happening. You know, I didn't come into this thinking like, I'm gonna be Mr. Godzilla. I'm going to be the Godzilla guy. I just liked this stuff. And I believe the old saying goes is luck is when opportunity meets preparation. And I just happened to be in the right place at the right time for when IDW started doing Godzilla comics. They had gotten the license in 2010 and started publishing the comics in 2011. And I was in the right place at the right time. And I had already been doing fan art for a while because, again, I just was kind of hyperfixated on this stuff. One of my best friends from high school, she once told me that, you know, I sort of was down on myself one day, and this was still when I was in high school. I was down on myself one day, and she was just, you know, I was talking about Godzilla and stuff, but I was saying, like, I don't know why this is, I keep talking about this, you know, because it's, you know, we all go through an apologist phase with the stuff we like. And she told me, well, Matt, it's important to you and you believe in it. And I was like, oh my God, I do. Like, that really clicked some things in my head where it's like, yeah, this genre, this art medium of kaiju, the idea, I'm going to quote Jurassic World here, so apologies in advance, you know, the genre really reminds us of how small we are. You know, you know, the kaiju as an art medium are there to remind us how small we are. But even though we're so small, we're able to do great things when we work together. And whether it is to defeat Godzilla or to help him in certain cases. You know, like in the short films that Toho has been making recently for the Godzilla Festival in Japan. And this is a Gigan scale from Shinichi Wakasa's studio. I actually got this for backing the Gigan short 2 years ago when they had the Godzilla vs. Gigan anniversary short film. And they just recently did the Godzilla and Jet Jaguar and King Ghidorah short film. Like, it just premiered a couple of hours, like about 12 hours ago, maybe 13 hours ago, as of this recording. But yeah, and Wakasa-san also gave me, you know, another scale as well. And I also have these Ghidorah scales from the GMK Ghidorah, which is the Ghidorah that just appeared in this year's short film. These are from 2001 from GMK, my favorite Godzilla movie, because the suit was constantly shedding scales and people were grabbing them out of the big pool after Godzilla fought Ghidorah. And I believe these were given to me by the Nishimuras, by the folks who run M1. So, you know, that's also really special. And speaking of Wakasa-san, who is still working on, you know, Godzilla props and Godzilla suits for these short films and for promotional stuff, he also gave me this Meganula prop from Godzilla vs. Megaguirus that this was one of the props made in collaboration, I believe, with his studio and with Bandai. And this was one of the props that they used for several shots, including like either being on the side of a building or being attached to Godzilla so that he would knock them off and step on them. So I even made it have these little descriptions, although I need to update them because according to Wikizilla, the actual canon Latin names are different from what I called them, which is Meganura Wakasi, because I was just naming it after Wakasa. But maybe I'll keep it like that because that is fun. You know, that is my little homage to him. But I like to get crafty sometimes. So I'm not sure if I've really answered the question of what does Godzilla mean to me, because I suppose I have, because it means a lot of things to me. It's my fandom, it's my career in a lot of ways. It's helped form the foundation of some of my longest lasting and most beautiful relationships in my life. And, you know, I've had people say that, you know, there are some people who, you know, are kind of, you know, don't, you know, there's always going to be trolls and there's always going to be people who are going to be mean online. But I remember one person said, I don't really like Frank because he's like almost 40 and he acts like he's 14. And I listened to that and I was like, what could he possibly mean by that? And I thought, is it because I like things? Is it because I enjoy things? I don't know. I'm not going to apologize for enjoying things, you know? It's whatever, you know, the vast majority of interactions I have are positive, you know, and it's because of this franchise that I became fixated on as a kid that I have the life I have now. So maybe that's what Godzilla means to me.